Cybermage is the most bizarre cyberpunk game that I've ever played.
Hey, handsome.
Published in the mid-90s, this first-person shooter didn't age well at all.
There's a control station down the hall from here. The access code is D12.
That means eye cancer-inducing textures.
Oh my god, there's a button here.
No aiming with the mouse. And women depicted by the most horrible type of humans. After playing Cyberpunk 2077, I was craving more of this universe. And in a dark alleyway of the internet, I stumbled upon a peculiar game of 1995. Cybermage. Was this the prototype cyberpunk game that I've been looking for? And no. Absolutely not. What I didn't know at the time was that I was about to go on a bizarre trip that would leave me a changed man. And would lead me to write this 15,000-word script.
I don't think I can control myself.
And it all started so harmless. We wake up in a lab of what seems to be a site of experimentation. We can find cylinders with half-developed human torsos connected to medical and experimental machinery to keep them alive. On the other side, we find medical data being displayed on the walls. As you can see, the graphics are pretty dated. The game came out for Windows DOS in 1995 and was not the most graphically impressive game, even back then. To be honest, the datedness doesn't stop at the graphics. As soon as I started moving, the game felt really off. First of all, forget about WASD to move and using the mouse to aim. For this ego shooter, we do everything on one device. Meaning we aim not separately from moving like you would do in a modern FPS, but by adjusting our character and point him in the direction we want to shoot at. In an insane game development decision by the sole developer, David W. Bradley, that some would call immersion enhancing and others would call a violation of the Geneva Convention, the protagonist starts huffing and puffing like a COVID-positive obese 60-year-old chain smoker with asthma climbing 60 flights of stairs. This is what you will hear throughout the whole game. Luckily, my brain gaslit me into thinking that this sound disappeared halfway through the story. Otherwise, I would have had to resort to self-mutilation. And I'm happy to tell you that this is only the beginning of the ship-sinking iceberg that is the sound design in this video game. And you better get your lifeboats ready, because this iceberg is coming nearer quickly. We make our way out of the lab where we escape the test tube and find ourselves in a cave-like hallway with exceptionally low draw distance. Rounding a corner, we encounter our first enemy, which can only be described as shit-colored land octopuses with red tails for tentacles. The officially printed guide of 1995 that has been scanned and thankfully made available on the internet labels them as slugs, and they can be a pain in the ass. So, it's time for our first fight in this game. By now, you may have wondered what the awfully suggestive grabby hand at the middle of the screen is used for. Turns out the mage in Cybermage comes into play immediately. This game takes this cyberpunk setting and injects a big amount of fantasy into it. There are no elves and orcs, but deities and higher beings and spells coming from an unknown, almost magical power. And one of these spells is the means of violence with which we are going to fuck up this gang of shit-colored slugs, the Starbolt. Combat in this game is bare bones and hyper-complex at the same time. On one hand, you don't have a reticle to aim with. Instead, you have either a gun or the Cybermage grabby hand to direct your attacks with. However, you can only estimate where your attacks will go. There is a distinction between hit-scan attacks, which have no travel time and immediately hit where you aim, and projectile attacks like the Starbolt spell. Projectile shots take some time to reach their destination, so you need to anticipate the target's movement before you take the shot. These little fuckers, however, aside from being your first experience of combat in this game, also introduce a new mechanic that, in hindsight, I would rather have cut from the game. Verticality. You see, if you are standing too close to them, any attack at the default height will go over them and not hit them. But don't worry, if you are a little farther away, the auto-aim kicks in, but only when there is enough distance between you and the target, and also a difference in elevation, and when it's either Tuesday or Thursday between 1 and 3 p.m. You can aim up and down, but you have to make use of the two dedicated keys, Q and E in this case, and one key that resets your vision to the default height. This is extremely unintuitive, especially when you are in a blind panic because you are being attacked by sentient garbage piles. Also, each attack with the spell costs power energy. but that recharges over time, meaning you don't ever run out of spell juice as long as you idle in a corner somewhere to recharge your power. Anyway, the slugs make one of the funniest death sounds when they eat enough spells. After finishing the first fight, we arrive in a larger part of the cave with a peculiar design on the floor.
You have awakened. I am Earth Mother, daughter of the Dark Light.
This is Earth Mother. We don't yet know what her deal is, but she is dumping a lot of exposition on us. She tells us that we have made a great sacrifice and have been reborn with the power to wield the Mara Tag Mang, the Dark Light. There is no explanation of what that actually is. It seems to be a power derived from the balance between light and darkness, and would explain why we can kill garbage octopus cows with fireballs from our hands. But there is a certain someone that is bringing unbalance to the whole world, a guy named Necron. He is also capable of wielding the Dark Light and is after our crystal. Surprise! There is a crystal in your forehead that basically powers your power. She also tells us that we can absorb the life force of each slain enemy to make us stronger. That was the blue mist that evaporated off the slugs earlier.
As you yourself are by the Dark Light.
Okay, front-loading all the uncritical information and exposition at the very first conversation isn't really helpful, lady. Where am I? What is going on? And what is this zombie doing in the sewers? This is a ghoulie, victims of an undisclosed, unholy war that ravaged these lands and cock-teases us the deeper lore of a fully fleshed-out universe. In small numbers, these zombies aren't really a huge threat. In a little niche, we find our first melee weapon, which you can use if you're out of ammo or magic power, the Power Blade. However, unlike the auto-aim that you can kinda work with, the melee weapon hit registration calls for aligned planets and a techno-shaman in order to work. Sometimes they hit, sometimes they don't. But either way, you need to get up close and personal, and that is a guaranteed way to get you killed, because the enemies do not miss. Melee weapons are a mistake, and I will not talk about them anymore. As we make our way out of the cave, we find ourselves in some sort of secret lab with a communication station in one corner.
Something has gone terribly wrong.
This is Mung. Well, technically it is a Mung. Mungs are genetically engineered assistants that are absolutely obedient to their employer, and aside from the advanced technology, this is the first glimpse of what the Cybermage universe has to offer to the cyberpunk genre. The immoral implication that corporations have bioengineered slaves to have a cheap and unquestioning workforce. You can tell I'm German. I just add umlauts to words. It is a shame that I only know about the Mung origin because I've read the guide that gives a little bit more background to this world. For a player that only plays this game without reading the guide ever, this is just a regular German citizen. Tiny, bald, with disgusting suction cup fingers. See him every day. In any case, this Mung tells us what the omnipresent lady should have told us.
Your life is in great danger. We implanted an extraordinary crystal into your brain necessary to keep you alive, but others have learned of your crystal implant and want to destroy you. At this moment, our facility is under heavy attack. I fear that we may not survive the assault, but you must escape. Come to the main laboratory where
There's one of them.
They have found me.
This is where we get attacked by a new type of enemy, the Trooper. They are basically the grunts of this game and the most common enemy type. They shoot and shout at you, but are basically pushovers.
It might be the target.
There he is. This is Unit 5. Target acquired. He's mine.
And then I get reminded of how these types of vault games work. I die because I just couldn't hit the enemy for the life of me, and I got set way back. I fight my way through the secret lab, blast a bunch of bad guys until this happens. This is a door, the most vicious and unassuming enemy of the game. After opening a door, it will close again incredibly quickly and guillotine anything that hasn't moved fast enough. one of the many interesting game decisions, just like the leveling system. You don't really get experience points or actually level up by choice, but each enemy leaves a little blue cloud as they die, which you can pick up by walking over it. It will either restore some health or power or permanently increase these stats by a few points. These drops are not random and mean that if you kill every enemy in a level, you'll get stronger and more powerful by the end. But, just like the doors, you need to be quick. If you are caught on the geometry, which will happen often, I might add, you will miss this little power-up because this Mara cloud only stays a few seconds and then evaporates. It's an interesting mechanic because it rewards you to take the risk of fighting as many enemies as possible, but it also discourages sniping enemies from afar because you can't reach the Mara, leaving their bodies in time. But sometimes you will miss the power-up even though you could have get it, and then you die a little inside. We find a blaster, our first firearm, and fight our way to see that they captured the Mung, the guy from the comms. After freeing him, the Mung tells us that they sealed off the main entry bay to hinder the assault, but in order to escape, we need to get through this very sealed door. We have to go to the control station to receive further info from him. Why he doesn't instruct us right here and now is beyond me, other than that there is no real quest indicator, and the developer wanted to keep the mission simple, I guess. As instructed, we make our way to the control station to open the exit just like the monk told us. On our way there, we are coming across our first vehicle, the tank. That's right, the game may look like ass, but we can drive around in vehicles like Halo, but a few years earlier and much uglier, and much more harder to control, and less. As soon as we jump into the tank, waves and waves of troopers flood into the room, and even some tanks, but we mow them all down. You almost feel bad for killing all those human beings that I'm sure had families and dreams and hopes. But look at all the blue Mara that they left behind. A real shame that you can't pick it up while sitting in a tank, Mr. Bradley. But the gates are closed and you can't continue with the tank, so we get out and go to the nearest terminal, where a bunch of basic grunts are waiting for us. And then this happens. That is what happens if you Frankenstein together these controls: verticality, sassy auto-aim, and no reticle. I mean, look at this bullshit. The man is literally directly in front of me. You would assume that either the hitbox of the projectile or the auto-aim would do its work, but no. Also, you can't see the stairs and adjust appropriately because you are fixed in one position. Meanwhile... Anyway... When we eventually open the exit door, the monk chimes in to tell us that we need to flee through the ghoul-infested sewers into the city to find a certain Montre Dexter cat.
Look what just crawled up out of the sewer.
This game likes to mess with you. It constantly tries to catch you off guard and oftentimes succeeds, to be honest. And since the controls are a mess, it is pretty hard to adjust to traps like this. The new type of enemies that jump us are called gangers, banished criminals that fight with melee weapons. Why they immediately attack us, though, is what we have to find out. A little tiny secret that we have to investigate if we want to, but we don't have to. But we will find out, because it is written in this script. We find ourselves in a run-down part of the city, the slums, with lots of dark alleyways and rooftops with more or less hidden doors where we can enter into buildings. This level feels surprisingly open for us to explore.
Life in the city is hell these days.
This is Rook. I assumed that he was just another ganger that I need to mow down, but it turns out not every NPC is blessed with a distinct sprite. Distinct sprite, $3.99.
First it was just the corporations making war. Then the cops started fighting. Then the rebels striking back from the DMZ. Now Necron's army is taking on all of them, and it looks like they're winning.
Rook tells us about the factions in this city. there are the corporations that, in true cyberpunk fashion, have outpowered governments and are now the ones that make the rules. But the corps have been at war with each other for ages, leading people to rebel against them and battling it out in what Rook calls the DMZ, a place that we will soon get to know. Also, there are the metacops, the police force of the city, fighting against the rebels and the new threat that squared up out of nowhere, Necron and his forces.
Now Necrom's army is taking on all of them, and it looks like they're winning.
Later in the level, we meet Rook again, and he tells us that people here are kinda trapped. The cops won't let them out of the slums, and the only way to leave this part of the town is fighting in the arena.
Maybe you should think about making a play over at the arena. It's the only way out of this stinkhole.
And with that, he outlines our quest for this level. Get $2,000 to pay the registration fee to fight in the arena, to proceed into the city, to find this ominous Mr. Cat. Anyway, let's have a look around the slums to find some money. Huh? Oh fuck! The game actually has some cool moments to surprise you with. I find myself in a decrepit old apartment complex. It's dark and I once again can't see very far. This isn't normal darkness. This is advanced darkness. You know, this game really has an eerie atmosphere to it. Similar to the way that all old games of a certain era are kinda spooky, just because of the way they look. That's why there are so many PS1 horror games that came out over the past few years, because the low-res textures and the awful lighting of the levels mixed with the compressed audioscape make for a truly spooky atmosphere. It just leaves ever so much to the imagination, which is most of the time worse than what really happens. And then I found the whole neighborhood of this apartment complex gnawing on the remains of a dead Necron trooper. The fight was hard and I lost a lot of health. And that's when I found out that when you are low on health, the protagonist begins to pant like a dog in heat while watching his favorite e-girl read out his donation message in a seductive way that gives him the feeling that she really meant it when she wrote that he is her favorite on that thank you card in the Gamer Girl bathwater order. And the only way to fix that is to heal. I told you the sound design would get worse. And we're not done yet. What I do appreciate is the environmental storytelling. Since the goons of Necron are looking for me, it is safe to assume that one might have found this apartment complex just like I did, but got jumped by the zombies, probably paralyzed by the electrocism spell cast upon them, and then was pretty much a defenseless snack for the neighborhood. After clearing the apartment complex and collecting a whole bunch of money, I find myself on the rooftops of the slums, where I have to jump from building to building to explore this part of the town. Eventually I find a door, hidden in a corner. And that's where the game surprised me even more. So apparently I stumbled upon a den of thugs, and there was this one female thug that was a little bit shy at first. I got in position and tried to snipe her down, but this is Big Betty. Bigger, better, and hits twice as hard as any of the other gangers. And this is her hideout. And you are her snack, and she will eat you alive. But if you don't want to, I would volunteer. So I'm not saying that I'm into like a war king or anything like that, but all I'm saying is that if the opportunity arises to be eaten by a giant cyberpunk gang or girl boss, I wouldn't say no. But eat me, mommy. Turns out there are mini-bosses in this game, but after a long and resource-intensive fight, I can loot her giant corpse and find more money. Back on the streets of the slums, we happen to walk past a news station where gangers hang out.
Hey, it's the one from the Flex News.
Necron put out a bounty on him.
So that's why these guys are attacking me on sight. They want to cash in on that bounty this Necron put out on us. The news station actually gives us a little bit more insight of the events that take place.
Has been posted for his capture, dead or alive. This exclusive video was taken just a few moments ago.
Eventually, we find enough money to go to the Ripper Dome arena. We pay the fee and make our way to the fighting ring. This gladiator arena is where legends are made. Rook said that people are going crazy over these fights. We will be able to bathe in the deafening applause of the crowd as we strike down our opponent and finally re-arrive in the arena. The crowd runs wild and the arena fight begins. We go up against the famous Mongo. Mongo is double the size of a regular man and is wielding the Razor Axe. the most powerful melee weapon. Mongo is a formidable opponent that doesn't hesitate to use advanced mind games to tilt the fight in his favor. In the middle of the battle, he taunts us with cleverly phrased sentences that catch you off guard, make you question your abilities for just a moment.
Mongo kill! Mongo like Ripperdome.
He wants to get in your head, but with my nerves of steel and my unyielding mental fortitude, I outwit this feat and claim victory. As a reward, we pick up his razor axe and put it in the nearest dumpster because melee weapons are trash.
Know your fucking place, trash.
But before we make it out of the slums, we can actually do one more thing. Turns out, you can place bets on arena fights, and the next fight that is up is a group of gangers, Slim, Slam, and Bam, against a Mongo? Did we just kill this guy? You see, Mongo was actually the very first champion of this arena, and since the job of a gladiator has certain occupational hazards to it, they went ahead and cloned him a couple of times so that they would never run out of Mongos to pit against contestants. Of course we're going to bet on our boy Mongo to win this fucked up Pokemon fight. Come on, come on, come on, come on.
Don't shoot. I recognize you. You're the guy whose picture is all over the Plex.
Buzz Lightyear stops us as soon as we walk out of the arena. He's a Metacorp lieutenant and in need of help. Different to the name, Metacorps are not self-declared vigilantes of the metaverse, but rather the police force in the city. The lieutenant describes how Necrom's forces stormed the police headquarters first, taking them by surprise. After that, Necrom took control of Sky Patrol and their flying police vehicles. Also, Necrom reprogrammed the robot force to turn on anything and anyone except, of course, Necrom's troops. So we have our work cut out for us. Infiltrate Meta Station. From there, deactivate the Meta bots, freeing the remaining Meta cops that are being held prisoner there, and remove the control over Sky Patrol. However, all his words couldn't prepare me for what happened next. As soon as we leave the tunnel connecting the slum to the core of the city, we basically walk out on an active battlefield. Necrom's troops, Metabots and Sky Patrol vehicles fight against Meta cops, which do not stand a chance. Unfortunately, the evil coalition turn against us as soon as we show up. Especially the flying cars are making me scared because I had just an axe equipped, and in order to switch weapons in this game, you need to awkwardly use the F buttons. And then after you have selected the ranged weapon of your choice, you need to press the Q or E button in order to look up or down, and then try to aim with the highly inaccurate aiming mechanism. And all that while being peppered by a gunship that moves erratically in the air. I wasn't prepared for any of this shenanigans, so I fled into the nearest strip club, as you do in such situations.
You'll never take me alive, you bastard. Oh, wait a minute. Aren't you the one they've been looking for?
This is Stacy. She recognizes us as the fugitive that is trying to escape the rot-faced Necron. Apparently, someone named Lana put out the word to all the girls to look out for us. She tells us to go to the Bliss. With that, she walks off.
Now, I'd better get out of here before they find me with you.
The city is where the game is opening up. There are several shops and places to visit, and we need to go from NPC to NPC to get stuff that we need in order to proceed. That rhymes. I am a rapper now. One of the stores is the gun shop, where you can look at weapons and items to buy but can't afford because you lost all your money betting on a certain someone who was supposed to win. There is also a medical center, an armor store, a corporate plaza, the Meta Station, and like 3 sex shops or strip clubs or whatever, and a casino. And that's pretty cyberpunk if you ask me. There are even undisclosed locations where you can explore different apartments, like this one, where you go up an elevator just to hear a girl get shot by a trooper and a Metabot. It's not much, and there's not like a big story around this happening, but it feels like stuff is happening around you. Almost like the city is doing its thing, if you're there or not. Regardless, we need to find out who this Lana is and what she wants from us. We make our way towards Bliss, which is located in the corner of the city. And I'm not gonna lie, the first impression that I might have made to that Lana must have been one of a mad pervert, because the Bliss is located on the first floor, meaning you need to get in an elevator to get there. However, in this game, the elevators are basically just moving plates that lift you up and down, and they go up and down on their own. Meaning if you take too long to step off the elevator, you go back down with it. So I step into the damn thing and I didn't know where the exit door was on top. And since it takes 1 billion years for you to turn, I missed my chance to hop off the elevator as soon as I found the exit door. But apparently, Lana starts talking as soon as the door opens, meaning she was talking to me while I was on a wild elevator ride. Meanwhile, when I eventually arrive, I panned like a stalker calling his victim.
You're getting a pretty big reputation around here, you know.
It's him.
Shut up, Maxie. I need to talk with him.
He's cute.
Shut up, Maxie, and let me talk.
Hey, handsome. You're cute.
Shut up, Maxie.
Maxie, you shut your fucking mouth right now.
Listen carefully.
And Lana tells us about Lance, the head of the underground rebellion, that is taking action against Necron. This Lance wants to talk to us.
Lance, he's a friend of mine. The cops took him inside Meta Station. He might still be safe, but they've blocked off the station. You'll never get past the barricades.
Say, Lana, word is that some of the Metas were planning a rendezvous over at the park. I think they were going to convince Pawn to let them use his old patrol ship and fly past the barricades to attack the station.
That's it! Pawn's ship! You could use the ship to get inside the station.
Wait, hold on. Did I get this right? So, Stacy said Lana wanted to talk to me. And now Lana tells me that Lance wants to talk to me, but Lance was captured by Necron's troops and brought to the Meta Station. But to get inside of that Meta Station, we need to get over the barricades since they blocked off the entrance of that HQ. But to do that, we need to get a ship. But fortunately, there is supposed to be a meeting in the park where the underground is supposed to talk with a guy named Pawn to give them his ship to fly over the barricades. Is that correct? Okay, so then let's go to the park. But the park is flooded with enemies. Metabots are roaming around. Troopers are shooting at you from a distance. It is a really resource-heavy combat situation going on. But isn't here where the secret meeting is supposed to take place? After fighting through hordes of bad guys and temporarily hiding and crying in the gun shop with 6 whole HP, I find what is left of the rendezvous.
Somebody talk. We were ambushed.
With his last breath, the Metacop instructed me to go to Pawn, the owner of the ship, and rescue his man. With that, he passed away to the next plane of existence, now roaming freely in the vast prairie of the metaverse. Pawn is in a place that is called Nex Sex, a disco in a mall on the outskirts of the map.
Need a lift? I was expecting a Meta. Sent you to do their dirty work, huh? I suppose they just couldn't trust old Pawn.
Pawn is a shrewd businessman. He's constantly on the verge of breaking the law and maybe in conflict with the Metacops, but ever since the invasion of Necron began, his profits plummeted. Now he wants to help anyone who's eager to get rid of Necron. Kind of an enemy of my enemy situation. You can tell that he likes to have people in his pocket. He wants you to owe him something to him, so he can pressure you to do or pay more than you wanted. He even lends us his ship without payment.
Yeah, I figure you're gonna owe me. One way or another, Cyberboy.
And with that, we can enter our very first air car. I don't know how the Metacops are cool with him having an aircraft that is still sporting the police insignia, but I guess any port in the storm. Flying the damn thing is just horrible. The controls are atrocious. And you have to pay attention for badly dressed women on the road. Whoops. Turns out the Meta Station has anti-air guns mounted on the roof that rip through your armor like Bongo through the limbs of his enemies, supposedly. My first attempt at flying into the station was cut short and my car died fast, and even my second attempt, where I knew that there was this kind of shenanigans happening and I took my sweet time and distance to get rid of them, I still almost lost my car and mind. But eventually, all turrets and enemies were shot dead and I landed my AV safely behind the barrier that was previously blocking us from entering. Climbing out of my air car, I realized that I was still pretty beaten up, 4 HP. This level really took a toll on our protagonist, John Cybermage, and I was absolutely out of any means to replenish my health or armor. Didn't have a health pack left and not enough money for the scam artist at the medical center, who would price their healing kits like it was one of those funny monkey JPEGs, but I guess that's life in America. But fortunately, this was the end of this level. If we go into the meta station, I will traverse to the next level, loading screen and all. Surely I will either spawn with my health replenished or some early level supplies to make sure that I'm good to tackle this new challenge. I have never been so wrong. Metastation starts like any other level. You spawn on an elevator that takes you down into a hallway where a trooper is waiting for you. Simple enough, even with low health. But as soon as you step out of that hallway...
Come on. Oh, come on. Oh. Fuck! Okay, slow and steady. There's a little man there. Oh. Okay. One upstairs. Okay, go away. Oh fuck, he got back up! Last one. Okay. Ah, come on!
There is basically a kill room set up for you to just die instantly in. Metastation has an entrance hallway that leads into a foyer with 2 levels. You know, verticality. My number one gripe with this game. On the ground, as well as on the first level of the foyer, are troopers wandering around. Not even in like fixed positions so you can kind of pre-aim, but they are strutting about willy-nilly. Thing is, I was so low. I would die in one shot, and even trading damage wasn't an option. The worst part is that enemies lock onto you if you are in a certain range, regardless of if they can see you or not. Meaning, they have locked onto you even before you round the corner. Sometimes you can hear enemies shooting at you from behind closed doors. This makes bobbing in and out of cover like a gopher in hunting season not particularly easier. Not gonna lie, morale was pretty low at this point, but I had one more trick up my sleeves.
Oh, save. Yeah, savity save, motherfucker. Oh, well, I guess I'm gonna reload that one. I am an invincible god now.
Exploring the station, we can find a cell block card after killing a man in a control room, and finally, some fucking health. After finding the holding cells, we can see dead metacorps through the bars. Suddenly, an unfamiliar voice whispers to me from one of the cells.
Psst, you there? Get me out of here!
Is that Lance, the friend of Lena?
I don't know who you are, but thanks.
That's just another metacorp, but he gives us intel on how the prisoners are divided into several groups. Some, like him, were brought here to the holding cells for target practice. That would explain the dead metacorps in the cells. Others, like the captain of the metacorps, are being held upstairs. However, the majority of the metacorps are held in the maximum security section of the building. That's where we need to go next.
There's a control station down the hall from here. The access code is D122.
While hearing the voice line for the first time is really awkward, it actually changes every time you play, which is a cool but kind of random thing to implement. It's not showing up after this level and it doesn't really add anything to the game, but you can see similar stuff in the Silent Hill series as well. After fighting my way through the upper level of the station, I eventually stumble upon the room where the captain is being held. And there's even a whole bunch of goodies to pick up. Something I sure needed at the beginning of the game. But oh well.
Well done, soldier. I'm Captain Coldlaw. Great mother, our own Metabots f***ing Necrom's forces.
And then Captain Coldlaw gives me the most convoluted explanation of what to do next, dropping so many references to places and in-universe things that I had to replay the instructions over and over again.
And stay clear of the kennels. Our Genos are specially bred for the great for but they can you in a heartbeat.
Okay, Cap, I keep that in mind. While making my way to the max security sector, I come across a peculiar room.
Transfer of all Sky Patrol remote functions completed, sir.
Very well, Sergeant. We'll take control of the patrol ships from here.
Now find Cat's lackey cyber agent. Yes, sir. He won't get past me, sir. I'll take care of him myself.
So this is actually a cool way of telling the player that we cannot control the air police cars anymore. Not a big deal if you ask me, but it was a big deal. I didn't know it at the time, but this was the first of the sea of red flags that would indicate a world of pain I was soon to encounter. I'm feeling confident and good. I open a gate of a room full of bodies in it. A sight of pure carnage that I didn't cause. I look around and see the answer to this riddle. A hazard sign saying that this is the entry to the kennels. I don't know what a geno is, only that the captain talked about them and how they are bred for f***ing. But given that the sign says that all limbs are in danger if they're sticking out of a vehicle, and we go into the kennels by foot, you know, it doesn't fill me with confidence, you know? Regardless, we make our descent down to the kennels. The light flickers. Silence. Nothing but our bated, asthmatic breathing as we take a few steps. We see iron cage gates, but no sign of any life. Not yet, at least. We activate a wall-mounted terminal and open the cage door. Now, the cage is open for anything to come out, but still, nothing. If we want to make progress, we need to go deeper into the kennel and into the cage. So we step into the unknown. We move along a dark corridor and hear menacing snarling in the depths of the kennel. We reach the end of the corridor and suddenly, out of nowhere, the snarling becomes more aggressive and more disturbing. Closer and closer. It is a geno, a slim humanoid beast, the insane result of experiments combining human and animal DNA. In an unfortunate twist of events, my spell that I brought to the ensuing battle absolutely killed the mood. The guide says that genos are in a constant state of murderous rage and that you need to act quick since they are running at you with enormous speed. After clearing out the kennel of all the genos that we can find, we exit the kennel with unexpected help.
There he is! Hit the alarm! Got it! You idiot! That was the wrong switch!
On our way to the Max Sack prison cells, we need to cross corridors and rooms that the forces of evil have flooded with acid toxin. For that, we need an item called Jump Jet, which is basically a jetpack that lets you hover a certain height over the ground. And with that begins the weird jump and run section of this game. So the Jump Jet works similar to the AV that we use to fly into the metastation grounds. You can even control the flying height. However, the hover height is relative to the elevation level of the ground that's underneath your feet, meaning you can't hover in a straight line if the elevation of the ground floor changes underneath you. And let me tell you, the whole gauntlet that we acquired the Jump Jet specifically for is full of elevation changes. So much so, in the middle of the gauntlet, I ditched the Jump Jet entirely and straight up jumped over the gaps with my little wee Cybermage feet. And after some teeth-grittingly and hilariously heinous obstacles, I safe-scummed my way across the section and find my way into a gigantic room. Finally, the maximum security prison.
What a twist. I was supposed to find you.
We finally find and free Lance, the leader of the Underground Rebellion. He tells us that he heard of someone with a huge potential to take down Necron, but Necron is not easily defeated. While we were out cold recovering from the crystal insertion surgery that made us into the Cybermage, he honed his skills with the Dark Crystal. When we were partying, he studied the blade.
SAR Corp is putting together something that might help us. Some device called a democon.
Lance gives us our next objective. Get the democon, whatever that is, from the SAR Corp HQ, wherever that is.
One more thing. There's a girl in the city. Her name is Lana. Tell her.
Holy shit, Lance, I can't tell her that. You know what, Lance? I'm going to tell Lana. You are going to be in so much trouble, mister. Lance said to you.
The important thing is for us to get you into SAR Corp. SAR Corp is pretty tough to crack, but I know a girl who thinks she can get you in. She works at Liberty's. It's an exclusive club, so we had to fake a membership card for you. Try not to look suspicious when you show it. And make it quick. As for Vanny, I'd be cautious if I were you. Liberties has a reputation for girls that will do anything if the dango is right.
We've got you. I'll bet you weren't expecting this. You're the 1 millionth customer here at Liberties. Congratulations. Drinks are on the house.
I will have a Dr. Pepper Zero, please. Absolutely disgusting.
So much for low profile. Next time, why don't you just blow a hole through the wall? You'd be less conspicuous. Lana said you'd be...
Say it.
Coming. I found someone who says he can get you into SAR Corp. He's the nervous type, so don't take all night to show up. He'll meet you over at the exec plaza. He wants 5,000 dango. Go on and do whatever you've got to do over there. Then come back to see me. Vanny will be waiting. And if you're lucky, maybe Vanny will open up her secret little box for you.
Wait, hold on. What did you just say? 5,000 dango? Pff, I'm barely scratching 300. How am I supposed to get 5,000?
It's about damn time. You think I got nothing better to do than to stand around in the dark all night? Some bad rash is going down over at SAR Corp. Did you bring the cash? What? No dango? I knew it. Vanny set me up. She's gonna pay for this. And so are you, cyber freak.
Okay, now I know what kind of character Vanny is. She set up the both of us. She willingly sent me to a guy who works for the most evil company in the world. He's ruthless and resorts to violence incredibly fast. Well, he did. Knowing all this, Vanny sent me to him to solve her issues. I simply cannot trust her. But now I have the key card to the headquarters of SAR Corp. I could just go there. Do I really need to go back to Vanny to see what she wants to show me? Am I really this desperate?
Sorry, lover. She's busy right now. I'm supposed to remind you that she hasn't forgotten her little promise.
Entering SAR Corp HQ, we see the decadence of this company, which was made out to be one of the leading factions in this universe throughout the game. Marble walls with blue textile finishing and ceilings of gold. This building is showing off the wealth and power this corporation is clinging on to by all means necessary, as we will soon learn. The hallways are guarded by metabots, and the maze-like design of the level has gotten me lost several times. Especially the rotunda in the middle of the office is like being kidnapped and held hostage in an undisclosed location. You don't know where you are and you want to leave real bad. And in order to proceed through this depiction of an office of an average C-level game publisher, we need to disable the security measures and get keycards and all that jazz. And then, on top of this brain-melting layout of the level, the game throws at me the most heinous puzzle. So I was on my way to get the security badge because a door was sassy today, and I stumbled upon a room with a peculiar marking on the ground. As soon as I crossed that threshold, a mechanical voice said,
"Security field deactivated."
And to my surprise, the walls came down and revealed a set of wall-mounted turrets, 2 on each side. However, the walls wouldn't stay down. They would move up and down in an almost comedic speed. Now you would think that I can just wait for the turrets to get blocked by the wall and run for the exit. Nuh-uh. The next room is an exact mirror image of the room I wanted to leave. And as soon as I crossed that threshold...
Security field activated.
And with that, the exit was blocked. Now I needed to go all the way back to unlock the seal, meaning that I had to run through the crossfire of 4 different sets of rocket-spitting turrets. The thing is, you cannot really destroy the turrets without wasting a lot of ammo, because the walls bob in and out so fast that you have to time your shots perfectly, and you still are trading damage because the splash damage of the rockets will hit you, no matter how good you position yourself. Plus, when you fight with one set of turrets, there's always another one shooting in your back. I lost so much health and ammo in this puzzle. So what you have to do, and by recollecting the events, it kinda pains me how obvious this is, but remember that the level at the time has already started to melt this smooth little hazelnut that is rolling around in my head, that is already working overtime with all this shit thrown at it. is to basically wait for a wall to go down, destroy the turrets, jump onto the wall that is about to go up, and then right up with it. You will reach a little room that connects the mirrored puzzle rooms. Ride the other wall down and get shot by the other set of turrets, but that is a thing that you need to get used to anyway. And this way, you will not cross the threshold that reactivates the seal to the security control room, and you can simply proceed on your merry way. Unfortunately, this very room was filled with a bunch of enemies. One of them was a new variant of the monks, the Invisimonks. That's not the official name. They are basically regular monks, but have the ability to temporarily make themselves invisible. As the name that I came up with suggests. I'm a little bit disappointed in you that you didn't pick up on that, but that's fine. I didn't really show my cleverness in the last puzzle room, so I'm gonna let that one slide. But for the next kind of joke, please laugh. These little guys are very easy to overlook as they blend in pretty well into the environment since they are almost completely transparent. Especially if other visible enemies are also in the room, you will miss that the invisible guys are even there, so long as they don't throw their grenades. Then you are pretty sure that there is something there. After clearing out that brutal room and getting the security badge, I was of the foolish impression that the puzzle room I so heroically managed to overcome would be disabled. As is tradition in video games, you solve the puzzle and it is a one-way street, then you can just leave unharmed on your way back. That's the rules. Look it up. Paragraph 69 in the 1991 Gamer Constitution. It's, hold on. It's right here. Yeah. So it pains me to say that I found a clear violation of this Red Bull fuel declaration in this game, because the turrets are still out to fuck me over on my way back. And so I found myself bruised and abused, but with a security badge back in the office. Basically crawling on all my four legs, the constant panting and coughing of the Cybermage driving me to the point where scissors in my ears weren't a bad idea anymore. I came across a very spacious, important-looking room that I was able to open with a keycard that I paid a dime for. But there was literally nothing of note in there. I found this very odd, so I took a closer look, and in the back of the room, behind the CEO-looking desk, there was a display. And underneath that, hidden in the muddy, blurry, low-res, eye-cancer-inducing texture of the wall, only visible if you stand so close that your peepers touch the marble, there was a tiny little wee button. And that button opened a hidden door that was filled with loot. We are talking grenades, we are talking health packs, armor, more keycards and a peculiar-looking disc, as well as a comm station with a fitting slot for the disc that we just picked up. I'm not gonna lie, this find made me very happy. Not only felt it really good to find such a hidden little button, but also it solved all my health concerns and replenished my ammo and will to live. And slotting in the disc, a furry VTuber shows up.
These discs are being made as an official record of events.
This is Montra Dexter Cat, the director of research for SAR Corp and the guy we've been looking for since the very first level. And he's here to dump his oil tanker of exposition on us. In this disc, and in several other that are hidden all over this forsaken level, Cat is recollecting all events that took place while we were in a coma. While we were in a post-operation coma. Post-crystal insertion coma. So now we get to know what happened, who we are, and everything. 20 years ago, SAR Corp found an alien signal by accident. The company saw a chance to gain an advantage over the other corporations and managed to get in contact with an alien race, the Sry Fang. And no, this cat is not part of the alien race. In the world of Cybermage, technology is so advanced that people can breed into literal furries, which everyone refers to as exotics and is racist against because they fear they will overtake everything due to their manipulated and optimized genes.
Optimized genes, $25.99.
Anyway, the CEO of SAR Corp wanted to keep this advantage a secret really bad, even killing the former research director who wanted to go public with it. The alien race taught the Corp the way of the dark light, a life force that permeates everything in the cosmos and that can be harnessed and used. However, humans do lack the ability to do so. If it weren't for the dark light crystal, with which a neural link can be established and the powers can be used. The CEO of SAR Corp was a bit on a power trip and had himself experimented on by the SAR Fang. They inserted the crystal into his head in order to have him wield the powers of this mysterious force. During this experiment, however, he died, but was brought back by the power, making him the main villain of this game, Necron. And now is a good time to tell you that Necron is an abbreviation of the word necromancer. In case you didn't notice, like I did, and I had to read it in the 1995 official guide, printed $12 at the time, which is now, I believe, with inflation, let me calculate in my head, 1 trillion euros. I'm paying my taxes in euros. I'm paying taxes, okay. Where was I? Let me quickly... However... This crystal not only fueled the former CEO with the energy of the cosmic planes, but also shifted his power trip into overdrive, making him an antagonist in the public eye. Turns out this is what the SAR Fang wanted. They want to take over the Earth, but didn't want to fight an all-out war, but rather a clandestine operation behind closed curtains, while Necron waged war openly, getting all the attention. They could move units unseen and reach their goals without anyone noticing. However, this nosy little Neko-chan here found that out and wanted to counteract this whole thing. Since he saw what powers Necron would wield, he wanted his own Power Ranger. So he stole the second of 2 Darklight crystals and embedded them into us, making us, the protagonist, into John Cybermage. But who are we? Why us? Well, I guess now is the time that we have a look into the comic that accompanied the game, which was $12.99 at the time, and of course I don't have it here. Are you mad? It's $12.99 in 1995. That is like 1 billion euros now. Are you mad? Our guy was walking down the street, reading the news and being not like the other girls. He turns around and in true gamer fashion, he is racist against the first person he sees. But, and here's where the game ties into the Pokemon lore, he sees the exotic being assassinated and tries to run up to him. Then he makes this face and dies, saving none other than Entei himself, which was on his way to LARP as a human. Touched by the bravery and selfishness, he grabs the corpse of our guy and inserts what we now know as the second Darklight crystal into him, in a desperate attempt to save a life in return. And also because he needed a test subject anyway. A few months later, the now reborn Cybermage wakes up, recovered from his operation as his secret research lab where we were held is infiltrated by enemy forces. And that's where the game started. You know that, you know the beginning of the video. Because we are just a good boy who is animal friendly, we can now shoot lasers out of our body and consume the dying, fading souls of our victim. That's the moral of the story. But these powers can be suppressed, because in a deeper section of SAR Corp HQ, we find a relatively open area with a funny looking floor. Turns out that SAR Corp is researching on a way to neutralize the Darklight powers and managed to develop this flooring to do so. The question is, why have such a large area tiled with this suppressor material? Why not have a cell or something else? Gameplay-wise, I almost missed that this area is suppressing my powers, to be honest. I was using predominantly firearms at this level, and so it wasn't really making a difference. Just by mere coincidence, I found out that when you use your powers, you basically inflict damage onto yourself. And then again, just use weapons. In this vast area with many hidden nooks, I happened to stumble upon a pyramid-looking item with the name Icon Cloak. I didn't know it at the time, but this single item allowed me to finish the game. But more on that later. After some more tedious key grabbing and seal lifting tasks, we finally find our way to an ominous-looking room with a light barrier in the middle.
I have been watching you.
Here we encounter our first SAR Fang, the alien race that brought the dark light to the humans. And yes, they are lizard people working in the shadow to rule humanity. They were always right. Anyway, he goes on how they have been watching me and how I progress with the Maratek Mang and how he can see the Man Ra in me and that I have come for the Dom Maragan, and I sure do understand everything he says because he uses words that I also use on a daily basis. So we understand each other perfectly. Anyway, it turns out he doesn't want me to have the democon, which was actually the sole reason that I've come here. So yeah, I had to give him the old stun lock and turning to goo treatment. With that being done, we grab the democon, which is a helmet-looking device that I still don't know what it does. And on our way out, we do the single most cyberpunk thing, and Johnny Silverhand style blow this godforsaken corporation up in the middle of the goddamn city tune.
Yeah, so listen, Chief, about that, we had some budget cuts.
Hi, lover boy. Vanny's been looking forward to keeping her promise all night. Looks like we have to postpone our little engagement for the moment. Pawn wants to see you right away. He says it's time to repay a debt, and we wouldn't want to keep the pawn waiting, now would we?
You know, Benny, it seems like you don't really want to keep your promise, and frankly, I'm not that desperate. So maybe I go to see what Pawn wants from me, and you know what? I don't come back here. Because you've been blueballing me all day, lady. Goodbye. Forever.
It seems you have some important friends that want me to get you out of the city. You can keep the ship with my compliments. What's left of her, anyway. I made all necessary arrangements. There's an air convoy waiting to escort you into the DMZ, a Sky Patrol convoy. You leave immediately.
Okay, so now we know where to go next. The Demilitarized Zone, or DMZ. The one that Rook was talking about earlier. We could go there right away. Or...
You come back to see Vanny again? That's funny. She left right after you did. Said she had some business to take care of. Strange, though. She cleared out all of her stuff.
Like Pawn said, to get to the DMZ, we need to meet up with the Sky Patrol escort that guides us safely to the next location. Our ship is still a mess. It didn't have any repairs till the last time, and additionally to the damage the ship has suffered, the pilot suffered a tremendous amount of emotional damage now as well. I just can't survive another betrayal like that again.
Hi boys, shall we? Hold on.
There's an air convoy waiting to escort you into the DMZ, a Sky Patrol convoy.
Transfer of all Sky Patrol remote functions completed, sir.
We'll take control of the patrol ships from here.
Uh-oh.
This was where I almost quit the game. You endured the entire SAR Corp level, and like skinny dipping into an active volcano, you come out of that, not in a good state, that's for sure. But to be thrown back into the city where all the enemies have been respawned just to fly with your worn down AC into an ambush against the worst enemy of this game, that's just mean. With no mentionable new supportive items to pick up, this is really showing the age of this game in my opinion. I mean, sure, enemies do drop valuable items, but they show up in groups and have better aim than you, meaning you have to pay for the items with blood. Literally. I tried this ambush section several times, and I was so close to giving up. But then I shuffled through the inventory and saw the item that I picked up at SAR Corp, the Icon Cloak. This item single-handedly solved my problems. What does it do? Well, as the name suggests, it cloaks you, makes you invisible for a long time. Long enough to just pass through the ambushing AVs and straight up walk to the next level, where it really doesn't get any better. The Demilitarized Zone, or Deadman Zone as the locals call it, is a barren landscape consisting of rock and sand. Devastated by the ongoing conflict between the forces of good and evil, this area reminds me more of the Grand Canyon than anything else. And let me tell you, the DMZ really makes you feel like you are storming the beach on D-Day. Not that I have any experience with that, but I have seen a lot of documentaries about World War II, and I have seen Saving Private Ryan, okay? Which makes me basically an expert in the field. Also, there are enemies everywhere. On the ground, behind barbed wire barriers, on hills and in little bunker-like buildings, there are snipers, there are tanks, there is gunfire on your ass all the time coming from every corner of the level. It is just a fun time playing this game, if I am allowed to speak frankly for just a couple of seconds here. Eventually, we find our way to an outpost that is heavily guarded with sprites that have a positive reaction to us squaring up and that don't immediately want to kill us. It is, in fact, an outpost of the Resistance. Unfortunately, things are not going really swimmingly as the rebels are basically about to leave this place since they are sure that the next wave of Necron's forces will overrun them.
Good to see you.
It is the big cat, the kitty who made us the Cybermage. He is here to give us the next objective and to dump more infos on us. He finally reveals what the democon actually does and what we need to do with it. So the democon is a device that neutralizes the dark light, our power and that of Necron. The lizards have been developing this thing in order to defeat us, so he says. However, with this, they gave us the means to actually defeat Necron. The plan is to surprise him in his little, probably unguarded base in the back of the DMZ, and so we need to confront him and use this thing and kill him, and nothing will happen that will stop us from doing so. So, yeah. Let's do that. Fighting our way through the DMZ, killing a bunch of meanies, and basically plowing through this level without any difficulties. First trying everything. It was a real breeze, but unfortunately, I lost the recording of me borderline god-moding this puny joke of a challenge, so yeah, you gotta believe me on this one, but don't look at this. Hey, come on, don't look at this. But hey, what's that? Isn't that Necron? Weird.
I am Necron.
Yes, we finally stand before the main villain of the game. Necron gives us this superhero villain speech where he goes off on how cool he is and how lame we are because we are mere mortals and we didn't invest in crypto. And he showed me his NFT collection, and to be honest, I don't know how it happened, but it sounded really reasonable in that moment, so yeah, talking about opportunities to optimize your portfolio. Would you like to be the owner of this JPEG of a monkey that I downloaded? In any case, we started to fight. It was rough. I mean, I knew what I had to do, but the problem was that it just didn't work. I equipped the democon, like I was told by the speaking ente, and I pulled the trigger, and it flashed red with lightning streaks. It damaged only me. And then Necron fucking obliterated me because he is supposed to use a new spell on you. Nova, the most powerful spell there is, which you can then use yourself. But being on the receiving end of that spell, wearing a helmet that basically resembles a baseball cap with inward-directed shotgun shells mounted on it, the fight didn't last very long. Let's put it that way. So what you have to do, and what no one tells you in-game, by the way, you have to look up a video for that. You have to equip the jump jet and fly in the face of the fiend who is constantly peppering you with throwable explosions with the power of a supernova, and then activate the democon, because it has a very short range, and that basically ends the fight immediately.
What's this? Some new weapon. I had not anticipated this. Very well. You may have won the day, but the war is not yet over.
And then he just fucking rage quits.
Mage. Damn! Necron must have a hidden lair in the mountains,
said the Catman, needlessly prolonging the game and whining about how everything is fucked now that Necron is warned about the democon. But fret not, pussyman, I shall be the victor of my next duel with the fiend yet. So where did he go? Narratively, we need to find the old forgotten subway tunnels to find our way to Necron's hidden lair. But mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, I will not acknowledge this level. This level does not exist. It is not even a level. It is just a bunch of reused assets to artificially prolong the game, were it to exist in this video game. But it does not. It would introduce a new flying enemy type, the Dragon Bat, if it were but a myth, a rumor whispered behind held-up hands. But it is not even that. It doesn't even exist in a conceivable reality in this plane of existence. And since that is the case, I do not need to feel ashamed to have footage on my computer of me getting literally lost for 30 whole minutes, circling the same-looking cave corridor only to miss the one important turn several thousand times, that would have led me to the exit, and I do not need to feel any kind of soul-crushing embarrassment over the fact that I found a giant-ass spider mini-boss that killed me so damn often that I developed a kind of Stockholm syndrome which renders me a spider fan. I am now a spider fan. When I see a spider, I now say, good.
I have come to warn you.
Oh, it's Earth Mother from the beginning of the game. She reveals to us that there is another deity, just like her, that has stakes in this plot. But as we are more or less the champion of Earth Mother, Necron is the champion of that other deity.
As I am the light which surrounds you, she is the darkness which envelops Necron, and she craves the dark light crystal upon your brow.
Okay, I'll keep an eye out, but I'm sure it won't be a real big issue. But I was wrong. It will be a real big issue.
Remember, it is the dark light crystal she covets.
Turns out we found our way into a spooky cemetery/occultist grounds with castles and dark forests, but no spooky skeletons. Fitting this theme, the enemies are mainly cultists in robes that do have a lot of say whenever you are near.
Ashes to ashes to ashes. Dust to dust.
It is very dark, and I once more have to rely solely on the minimap to find my way around this level. I don't know if you noticed, but I enlarged the minimap in the last few levels compared to the beginning of the game, where it was just a tiny little thing in the right-hand corner, because the surroundings and the environments in these levels just look all the same to me. And I now only pry my eyes from the minimap to the center of the screen to spot enemies. This level is also filled with puzzles. At one point you have to solve a puzzle to get to another puzzle to open a gate. What I didn't know was that this puzzle that was hidden behind a puzzle was actually the start of my Cybermage run to spiral into an everlasting maelstrom of darkness and despair. So in order to open a door, to progress further into the level, we need an item, a bag of dust. The little bag is just lying on a stone table which has another stone table right next to it. Problem is, whenever we walk over it to pick it up, it disappears and reappears on the other stone table. So what we have to do is block the other stone table with an item. But it has to be a specific one. It cannot be anything else, like a weapon from your inventory or, I don't know, this JPEG of a monkey that you can still purchase to diversify your portfolio. It has to be a skull, but how do we get that skull? Well, there was this small room with a ladder, and as I was walking in, suddenly death rained from above. I backed out of the room, but the death magic kept coming out of nowhere, and I died. So these guys are called specters. They are described as permanently invisible supernatural entities and are extremely resistant to damage and almost immune to any attack. They had the fucking nerve to put in an invisible enemy that has a shit ton of health on top of a platform in a tiny ass room in a game where the draw distance is shorter than the attention span of an average TikTok enjoyer, and on top of that, they made this encounter mandatory, because this fucker drops the skull that I need to block the puzzle shenanigans to get the other item that I needed, another item to even get to open a door. And this very door that I'm going to open needs another item, 2 items in total, and this is just one of them. This is where the game broke me. I don't know if you noticed. I tried to kill this thing so many times. I even popped an item that made me invincible for a time, but I couldn't fucking see him, only estimating where he was from the death magic barrages that appear out of nowhere. And then the invincibility ran out and there was so much clutter on the screen, and then I died. But eventually, I just chucked in grenades into that room until the barrage of magic stopped and a tiny skull lay on the ground. Making our way through the castle, which consists of an inner court, where we are, that is surrounded by buildings and walls and a lot of sidelines of enemies, there is a shit ton of gunfire directed at you as you scramble to find cover. Additionally, the game introduced a new type of enemy. The guide calls them Legion of Doom. I call them absolute bullshit. They are basically walking tanks. The guide suggests that you don't conserve ammo against these fuckers, and I would refrain from conserving my ammo if I had any. With barely any HP left, no ammo, the armor in shambles, and trying to hold on to my ever-fading sanity, I just died over and over again. There wasn't really much going for me. I was idling in the game so my mana could reload over time because I had to resort to only use my spells because I had no ammo left for anything really. Then I guerrilla warfared my way onto a platform, avoiding open sightlines as much as possible, only to idle in the next room to once again recharge my power. I was on my knees, pissing and crying. I honestly considered cheating my way through this level, but there are literally no cheats for this game. Funnily enough, if you Google Cybermage cheats, you will find a lot of websites telling you to open the key prompt and write Doomsday to get like infinite health and ammo and stuff like that. But you can't even open any key prompt because there is no such menu or feature. The cheats are actually for the game Cybermercs. And all of those cheat list websites copied each other's wrong homework. I stopped recording my gameplay because it was just a waste of storage space at this point. But then, the off-camera miracle happened. I was just desperately running from a barrage of bullshit and ran across the map in a blind panic, only to find a peculiar-looking pool. And to my surprise, the pool healed me. Slowly, but completely. I had found an infinitely usable healing spot. Was this the light at the end of the tunnel?
Yes, my son. Yes, it was.
With this literally newfound strength, I was able to actually play the game properly again, without resorting to my idling strategy and without reloading every failed encounter with the Legion of Doom. I completed the level and I felt that the end of the game was near. Also, I accidentally spoiled myself and I saw the numbers of levels that were left in the game when I was searching for the cheats, so my feeling that the game would come to a close was actually very, very strong.
We meet at last. I am Fire Mother, and the power of the Drakmang is mine to command.
This is Fire Mother, and the power of the Drakbang is hers to command. This is the other deity that Earth Mother warned us about.
Join me, and together we shall vanquish Necron.
What? I thought you guys were buddies.
He has learned to master the dark, the all-powerful Mang. But he is ugly.
Okay, listen, lady. I've had enough of your sass today. You are being rude, and I don't want none of this bullshit.
You are what Fire Mother craves.
Go on.
I see hesitation in your eyes. Perhaps I must prove myself a worthy mistress.
And, just out of curiosity, how would you do that?
This is a scripted fight. Fire Mother is literally invincible and you cannot defeat her in this battle. All you can do is run for the closest possible cover and hear her mock you for your cowardice, which is, and let's be honest here, part of the kink.
You tremble before the power of the Fire Mother! Do you not realize that it is the Fire Mother you desire? Oh, we shall meet again.
The temple is a refreshing change to the open-aired garden level from before. Claustrophobic hallways leave only few sightlines at all times for enemies to spot you, which makes controlling the fight way easier. Also, pre-aiming is again possible since fewer enemies are on high ground. The game is still introducing new mechanics that are exclusive to this level. In this case, it is teleportation. Right after fleeing from the fight with Fire Mummy, we find a corridor that teleports you back to the entrance of the corridor every time we walk over a certain threshold. You have to step into the little rooms on the side to get teleported into another little room from which you can get to the end of the corridor. This little excursion functions as a neatly implemented tutorial for a puzzle later on, which we need to get a key item from. Talking of puzzles, the temple also inhabited the world's loudest trap room.
There is literally this long hallway with the walls moving in and out, crushing everything or everyone in between. The problem is, these walls are so loud with a bunch of ambushing cultists at the end, yapping their nonsense and the following battle noises, which are just so overwhelmingly loud.
Also laser sword. And then Earth Mother calls.
Behold, young and noble warrior, with power both strong and mighty. From angels' bond is drawn the light.
Okay, listen. You girls need to chill the fuck out. First, this naked one is on an insane power trip. Now you talk my ear off with a fucking riddle that basically boils down to don't listen to the bathwater selling cam girl. I have enough of your nonsense today.
We are still marauding the temple because we are still looking for Necrom's hidden lair, in case you've forgotten. And while we are looking in every nook and cranny of this place, we happen to eavesdrop on a bunch of lizard guys.
Such a confusion within him.
Does the human not see? The Necron is a mistake, intended to unleash such a creation upon his kind.
He does not see. We have been trying to stop the Necron. But wait, I think she is nearby.
Oh, you guys can be friendly now, huh? And this is all a huge misunderstanding. Am I getting this right? And here I am, getting item after item to get to puzzles that I need another item for, to open a door that leads to another puzzle that I need an item for, working my ass off, and you guys, causing this whole shit show, you just stand around, getting in my way, and now that I have a chance to hook up with the fire god, now you decide to be good boys? Okay.
Finally, we put the eyes of fire that we searched the whole damn temple for into their respective sockets, run gracefully through the freshly opened gauntlet of moving walls without getting hit, not getting hit once, first trying this puzzle, go up the stairs, and...
Necron waits for you in the well of...
I don't fucking care. Is that the shithole leading to his lair? Okay. Bye-bye. Here we are, the final level, and fittingly we come back to the Cyberpunk roots. A high-tech lab under the table, and Necron has a few annoying wall-mounted turrets waiting for us.
Okay, buddy, it's time to fight. Throw hands. Just you and me. No dives, no biting, no kissing. Bring it on, brother.
You have come to me at last.
Yeah, so I forgot about the power that makes him invincible. That kinda was a problem. This fight is split into two phases. First, you need to neutralize the force that makes him invincible, fortunately, and also advertised by the two deities, if you choose to listen to them. Your powers neutralize the power of Necron, which means you only need to stand in the red mist in the middle of the arena. It will shrink and eventually be completely gone, but in the meantime, Necron will pepper you with his insane death magic. So you kind of have to tank all that damage until his protection is gone. When that happens, Necron just rage quits again and the arena starts to change. The room suddenly becomes way more complex. You can drop down from the middle of the platform where the previous fight took place to land in a maze-like structure net of hallways. Now, Legions of Doom and wall-mounted turrets are back on the table for your amusement while you search for Necron. And when you find him and spray him with your hail of gunfire, he eventually despawns again just for you to go look for him all over again. But eventually, you will find him back in the middle of the arena, shit-talking you. And the next part was a little bit anticlimactic for me. I popped an icon of fire to do a whole lot of damage, but it was so loud that I couldn't understand what he was saying from all the explosions going on.
Why then, I will possess the secret of this established base. The entire depth.
It's done! Necron disintegrates into pieces, and his dark light crystal hovers above the ground. But before you can pick it up, it disappears. And then... the game crashed for me. What is supposed to happen is that you enter that teleporter and a cutscene plays.
You've done well, Cybermage.
Our favorite furry is congratulating us to our victory and sums up the plot one last time. Necron was an experiment gone haywire from the alien race SAR Fang, who were helping to stop him all along. They already destroyed all research regarding Necron and the experiments on Necron, so that there will never be another Necron again. We are now the only one with the power of the Dark Light, but the SAR Fang warn us that we eventually, inadvertently, follow in Necron's tracks, because that is the way of the Maratag Mang. Where there is light, there is also darkness. There's also darkness. With these foreboding words, we cut into another scene, somewhere else. Necrom's crystal just spawns on a table. Earth Mother is there, she recognizes the crystal and reaches for it, but Fire Mother snatches away the crystal and says that Earth Mother needs to get her own. Then it cuts to the title screen, credits roll. So this table is like standing in another plane where gods reside, right? Does that make it a godly table? The god of all tables? Do tables pray to a table god so that they may continue to carry the weight of the universe or something? Is the world view of a table that everything, the whole world, is standing on one giant table in space? Wait a minute. It was flat the whole time? Man, I can't wait to know what will happen in the next game. They are setting up John Cybermage to be the bad guy. Fire Mother is like trying to sever the bond to her sister or whatever. Listen, I hate to break it to you, but there is no sequel to this game. And since you probably never heard of this game, it is not incredibly hard to imagine that this game sold relatively badly. And even the reception of it was pretty mid. You can see that there is at least the framework of a potentially cool universe, many different factions with ambitions and hidden agendas that can change depending on the development in said universe, like Pawn, who is trying to tilt the situation in his favor by aiding a side that he was previously fighting against. And they are trying to get you into the cyberpunk mood with the iconic aesthetic and the city and NPCs using in-universe language like dango instead of dollar. But we get only a brief look into that world, and you have to dig a little bit deeper to find these bits. And I do appreciate the variety of weapons and enemies and mechanics. Especially in the beginning of the game, I was kinda captivated by the amount of new stuff that the game would throw at me. I was constantly wondering, what will I get next? What new cool weapon will I find? And I don't know if that was just because I didn't expect this old game to have this depth, but it led to a kind of sense of exploration. I wanted to explore this game more, at least until I couldn't bear the controls anymore. The controls are really what prevented me from enjoying this game. At first I was okay with it, accepting it as a thing I had to bear with because of the age of the game, but then the difficulty ramped up and it was just frustrating. I don't know if you noticed, but I was at times a bit peeved. Also, I'm not a big fan of the comic book style in the cutscenes, and I would have appreciated a bit more variety in NPC sprites. Having NPCs look exactly like enemies, even down to their voice actors, was just a bit weird. And there was one thing that I didn't show you guys.
You suddenly feel the urge to subscribe. You feel that activating the bell is a good idea because the videos take a long time to make and you don't want to miss the next one, do you? This shit is good, yo. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe.